Peter Lurie here to take you through this week on HRTV. Things got started as usual on Across the Board this week with guest Danny Sorensen.
My sole goal, I mean, it took me away from school, it took me away from my other jobs. As long as I could find a horse to ride, I was happy.
Then 5 was the magic number for these outstanding performances across the country.
5th win on the day for an inspired Calvin Burrell.
5th win of the day for Inez Carlson.
Complicity inside the final 16th. 5 on the day for Julien Leperoux.
And Mike Smith sat down with Gary Stevens to recap the Preakness.
You know, he reminds me a lot of a horse that we both had a lot of success with, Thunder Gulch.
But Mike will not be back to ride the Derby winner in New York.
Will anybody under 5'4" and less than 117 pounds commit to a gelding that is now a length away from winning the first 2 legs of the Triple Crown? Anybody.
And a memorable day for Matt Rispoli.
From Rester's Concern in our land, it's going to be Casicielo and Matthew Rispoli for his first career win.
Matthew Rispoli going to get the water and the eggs and the shade.
He's going to get all kinds of good stuff there, and if I was him, I would run them.
Jockey Danny Sorensen was this week's guest on Across the Board. He recalls a memorable ride down Santa Anita's unique turf course.
Danny, let's talk more about some of the horses you've ridden. Let's first start with a horse by the name of Evening Promise. Well,
that was the win picture from her. They just showed on the screen. Evening Promise. That was a Kathy Walsh trained, Jim Vreeland and Richard Duggan owner. Very nice horse. I'd worked her a few times. Didn't get to ride her too much, but I did ride her down the hill in a stake here, and it was very much fun because she was such a fun horse to ride. She just kind of ambled along early, and when you asked her to run, she just ran. I think everybody that rode her went on her at least once. You know, she was just one of those kind of horses. And I think that was a small little stake, wasn't it? This race right here?
This is the Las Ciénegas?
Yeah.
And you said everybody that rode her got a win minus Eddie D. So
oh, really? Hey, wait till I go call Eddie. I'll give him a hard
This
time.
was the only race you actually rode her for. And that's a race that's down the hill, and the hill course is very unique here to Santa Anita. Is there any way that you ride that hill different? Is there any secret that you have to ride in the hill?
I think patience is the biggest virtue on the hill. It's just a patient game with down the hill. It's a fun race. It's a fantastic race. Especially when you're sitting on something, you feel pretty much like you're loaded for bear, and you're just sitting there waiting, and a hole finally opens up and you can blow through it. It's really an enjoyable feeling.
Jockey Inez Carlson was on fire Thursday at Arlington, winning 5 races on the 10-race card.
Racing up toward the wire, Inez Carlson going to the winner's circle with Itchy Toes. The elevator, Inez Carlson on an instant double. Saters chimes in at the rail. Troopy, a blanket photo finish. What about a brood? Snap trying to see it out and still staying on stout lead too. Zena's Emperor, Trait on the outside. Little Feet and Monastery. Snapped Inez Carlson's 4th of the day. Snapped, made all. Ought to be mine up the fence and 3 tickets as the first line looms. 3 tickets ought to be mine. A bobber! 5th win of the day for Inez Carlson. Races 2, 3, 5, 8, and 9 for those keeping track.
I wanted to ask you about your final win in that 9th race. That was very, very tight there. And when I was watching it live, I couldn't tell if you'd won. What did you think? Did you think you got that 5th win there in that photo?
I actually did. I had a good feeling that I actually, got him in the end there. I know it was tight, but, when you come down the wire, and, most of the time you can feel it. And I thought I had it home.
Yeah, and as you looked at that racing form in the jockstrom this morning, did you think, geez, I could have a really big day here?
Actually, this morning when I was eating breakfast with some of the trainers, I was like, I really like my horses. And they're like, you really like your horses? I said, yeah, they might be 15-1 or whatever, but I really like my horses today. I like my horses every day. I don't ride horses, and think I'm going to lose. So I try to ride everything like I'm going to win. And but I really thought I was going to have a good day today, but I never expected I was going to win 5.
That's just fantastic, and as for you to do that, for our HRTV viewers out there that aren't necessarily familiar with your background, tell them how you got involved in the game and how you became a jockey.
Well, it was kind of a coincidence because I came to Canada in 2005 to work with standardbreds, and I was just going to stay for 6 months and go home, kind of just learn the language. I didn't speak English when I came. I'm Swedish. And I came over, and I actually got fired 3 weeks into my first job, and I met some people having thoroughbreds on a farm, and they hooked me up at Woodbine, and that's how I got my first exercise rider's license. And I saw a live race up at Woodbine, and I thought, hey, that's what I want to do, and that's what I did. I moved down to New York, and I stayed in the States for 2 years before I got my license, and somehow I ended up in Chicago.
It was easy to pick a winner this week. Just bet Inez, Julian, or Calvin. But how many people had the winner in Thursday's nightcap at Churchill?
Inside the final 16th, Miss Leader looks to the line. Serena's Mama picks it up on the outside. My Honey is absolutely flying. Here's the line, very close between on the inside. Serena's Mama on the outside. My Honey, and that has gone down to a head bob on the line.
78-1 in the nightcap at Churchill Downs. If you could come to me and tell me you like this horse based on the form, I would look right back at you and say you're lying.
That's for sure, but nobody was really looking today. I mean, the biggest the odds have ever been, they tend to be between 10 and 40 to 1. But 75 to 1, nobody would have seen this. Nobody would have seen this.
So My Honey dropping the bomb in race number 9. And congratulations out to Adolfo Canciano as he picks up his first riding win at the meet, and same with Elvie Cobb.
Speaking of upset winners, Mind That Bird's latest jockey sat down with Gary Stevens to recap his Preakness ride.
Mind That Bird, 15 hands, a little over 15 hands. Does he feel a little bigger than that sitting on his back?
You know, he certainly does. We were talking about it before. You know, he reminds me a lot of a horse that we both had a lot of success with, Thunder Gulch. Little, but I mean, very broad. I mean, once you get on top of him, I mean, his neck is really broad, and he's got a lot of flesh to him.
What about his personality, intelligence-wise?
And he's laid back, cool dude. I mean, he really is. He's probably one of the bravest little horses I've been on, to tell you the truth.
Since you woke up from your nap right before the Preakness, why don't you take me through the race?
Sure, no problem. You know, right in here, it was a big concern because Big Drama was really making a mess, and I actually got away in good order and just eased him back. Try to kind of have the same kind of style that he ran in the Derby, but yet not take him quite 20 lengths back.
Was he wanting to show more speed, or is he a quick learner?
I think he's a very quick learner. I mean, because as soon as I put my hands down, he just dropped it, you know. And I know everybody's going to be looking for me on the fence, so after I made the turn, I kind of eased off of it a little bit, thinking that if no one saw me down in there, maybe the people would start floating out. But of course, that wasn't the case.
He's starting a nice run at this point right now, and looks like if you get any breaks at all, that it's going to be a heck of a horse race.
I was going to come at her with a full steam, but Lucas's horse, a 10 horse, really was looking for some room at that same time and bumped him pretty hard a couple of times and really kind of knocked him off stride. But he's such an agile little thing. I mean, he just jumped back and forth to his leads and straightened back out, and I mean, came home hard. You know, right in here, I thought, well, I have a shot if she'll just kind of hit a little wall, just a little bit right in here, she'd falter, but she never did. She just kept running. But so did he never stopped trying.
Pace scenario at Belmont, do you think he's going to suit this track as well as he has the turns, say, at Churchill and Pimlico?
I think he will. You know, I mean, I think you could just about run this little colt over anything, anywhere, anytime. I mean, I think the whole key is just getting him to relax, getting him into that rhythm, and he's, like I said, he's so agile. I mean, he's got a turn of foot. Like, I mean, it's pretty incredible for his size, you know. So I wouldn't think he'd have a problem with it. I think he can win the Belmont. I really do. I think especially if there's a little pace, you know. I mean, you know, if you just let her go out there and lope, I mean, she's a very, very talented filly. I mean, she could get away with a lot. But if there's any kind of pace at all, I think he can win.
Mike Smith may think Mind That Bird can win the Belmont, but he's already committed to ride another horse on the first Saturday in June.
Mike Smith has committed to Medeo at Hollywood Park on Belmont Stakes Day for Jerry and Ann Moss. So should Rachel go in and Calvin rides Rachel, Mind That Bird might just need another rider. Good morning and welcome to Race Day America. I'm Carolyn Conley, happy to be rejoined by my co-host today, Scott Hazelton, back from Baltimore. Welcome back.
It's good to be back, and we'll be gearing up for Belmont Park in about 2.5 weeks. But back to the Mind That Bird story just briefly. It's just amazing that they cannot keep a rider on this horse. And the other thing that goes along with it, it does not sound that Chip Woolley, Mark Allen, and Dr. Block are going to wait and see what Rachel's going to do. I think they're going to have a decision before Calvin goes one way or the other. So I have a feeling Calvin might be left out of this mix if in fact Rachel does not end up running at Belmont Park.
It has been stated a number of times they'll have to see, and they don't feel like waiting too long to make the decision. So the whirlwind of this year's Triple Crown will continue as we go in the weeks ahead, 2.5 weeks to the Belmont Stakes.
Next stop, New York for our Pursuit of the Crown team. When HRTV Rewind returns, early picks for the third jewel.
You know, there's a bunch of closers in that race, made to order for Rachel.
The way it's supposed to be in the Belmont Stakes.
And how Rachel compares to another filly who beat the boys in the Triple Crown.
It's going to be very close, and it's going to be a filly in the Belmont.
Bullet drill time, right. Jeff, and this hypothetical bullet drill. Rags to Riches versus Rachel.
At a mile and a half,
wins?
Rags to Riches.
Zenyatta versus Rachel, who wins?
At a mile and a half, a mile and an eighth, Zenyatta.
Mind That Bird versus Rachel in New York.
Rachel for sure.
Really?
She'll beat him again.
Does Mind That Bird go favorite? Daddy won the Belmont.
Absolutely not. Rachel Alexandra, if she runs, will be the favorite, and she'll win.
Rachel Alexandra beat the boys in the Preakness. Rags to Riches beat them in the Belmont. But who would win the filly match race?
At the top of the stretch, a filly is in front of the Belmont, but Carlin is right there with her. These two in a battle of the sexes in the Belmont Stakes. It is Carlin on the inside, Rags to Riches on the outside. A desperate finish. Rags to Riches and Carlin. They're coming down to the wire. It's going to be very close, and it's going to be a filly in the Belmont. Rags to Riches has beaten Carlin, and 100 years of Belmont history. The first filly to win it in over a century.
Rags to Riches beating the boys in the Belmont Stakes. Rachel Alexandra just did the same in the Preakness. Can you compare these two accomplishments?
Both outstanding performances, but beating Curlin, as Rags to Riches did in that manner, I mean, to me was just an unforgettable performance. I think Rachel might be capable of doing that. We'll find that out in a couple of weeks, perhaps. But of those two performances, Rags to Riches to me was a race for the ages, and I can't say enough about her beating the subsequent Horse of the Year.
Eventual two-time Horse of the Year. She also beat Hardspun and did it in the Belmont Stakes after stumbling badly at the start. Though Rachel Alexandra had to overcome a 2-week turnaround and forced to run every step of the way, being hooked by big drama. Now, here is the tale of the tape. Rachel, it looks like, has already proved to be more durable of the two.
No question. And that might come from her sire, Medaglia d'Oro, who was very durable himself. So if you're going by that, and I do that because that's part of being great, is being able to sustain a long career. And so far, Rachel Alexandra, she's not even to the third leg, and she's already had more races than most fillies of her quality would have. Certainly more than Rags to Riches. So give her some points for that. But I want to see her win the Belmont first.
This is what the probables look like 2 weeks out. Zito with a pair, Brave Victory and Miner's Escape.
Looking at this field, I'm not seeing a whole lot of speed in there.
Charitable Man
he's
and
the only
Zito horse.
Yeah, maybe. But Charitable Man's got some tactical speed. He's not blazingly fast out of there. He sat off the pace when he won his last race, but he'll have enough, sharpness coming out of the Peter Pan. It may be an impact. But when I'm looking there, Rachel is going to have a relatively soft trip up front, necessarily on the lead, but they're not going to be going fast, so that's going to help.
Yeah, but Charitable Man by a Belmont Stakes winner in Lemon Drop Kid, but he doesn't necessarily strike me as a horse, Jeff, that wants 12 furlongs.
I don't know if he does or not, but if he can impact the race for the first 3 quarters, he can maybe hurt Rachel if she runs. But other than that, there's a bunch of closers in that race, made to order for Rachel.
The way it's supposed to be in the Belmont Stakes. But it's not usually won by that explosive late closer. You, for many years, have called it a galloper's race.
It is. I mean, you don't see a deep closer win very often, and that's the style, of course, that Mind That Bird has. I thought that he would be more effective in the middle distance races than he would a mile and a half, where they generally go 24, 48, 112 and change, and they just kind of steady throughout. So, that, again, plays right into the hands of Rachel Alexandra.
We're just weeks away from the third jewel in the Triple Crown, and the team at Belmont Park has been preparing for this one race for the past year.
It's an exciting time right now with things shaping up for the Belmont Stakes. But before we get into the horses that are expected, what sort of preparations does Belmont itself have to undergo in order to handle the ensuing storm?
Well, the problem here is that you never know how big a crowd you're going to get because, the race itself is great. You figure about 60,000 anyways. A Triple Crown can be in excess of that. In 2004, of course, there was 120,000 for Smarty Jones. So right now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it part that people realize that Belmont Park is not only one of the great racetracks in the world, but certainly a treasure on Long Island for the people that live around here. And we have a whole Belmont Stakes Festival planned that starts on May 30th and goes right through the week, right through the Belmont Stakes Day for a week, involving all the different towns and surrounding communities around here.
Here's a trainer who makes winning the Belmont look easy.
It's Easy Goer with a furlong to the finish in front by 5. Sunday Silence appears beaten. The Voyager is third. down the stretch, and it's Easy Goer with Pat Day winning the Belmont and denying Sunday Silence the crippled crowd.
Shug, at this time of year, I mean, you've had so many amazing accomplishments. You're a Hall of Fame trainer, but whenever you get to the Belmont, do you just always get maybe a little nostalgic for old Easy Goer?
Well, yeah, but it was a big thrill that day because we got beat, in the Derby and the Preakness by Sunday Silence, and it was a great rivalry. It was a lot of fun. Mr. Whittingham was great to me. I was just a young guy, and he made it to where, it wasn't a grudge match by any means. It was just we were going out and see who ran the best horse that day, and through the whole thing, he was just wonderful, and even after the whole thing, he was still just as wonderful.
Longtime trainer for the Phipps families, not only the owners, but the breeders of most of their stock. What do you feel is special about that? And what do you think is the biggest challenge when you're dealing with an ownership that breeds so much as they do?
Well, the people are the biggest thrill of the whole thing. I mean, the Phippses and Stuart Janney, who's their cousin, who I've got horses for, and for him and in partners with him is the whole thing. You could not imagine how cooperative and unsuggestive, with that lack of a better word, than they are. It's your racing stable. You do what you want to with it, and just let us know. And Mr. Phipps tries to, I try to discuss things with him, but then Lynn, at the end of the line, it's your decisions, and it's never questioned, ever been questioned. The only time he ever questioned me was after Personal Ensign won the Belle Dame when she was a 3-year-old. He told me, he said, I believe I'd have taken her to the Spinster in 25 years. That's the whole thing. And, job, no matter what, is the people.
Some say that being a guest on RaceDay America is good luck. Well, we've got proof.
Consequence led. Here comes Excelente on the outside. Afternoon Stroll is third. Consequence and Excelente. Consequence in the American 1,000 guineas. Coming up toward the wire in the Hampton. Here's Vacation. Amazing results. Dominican and Jared Bjorn's Vacation. Johnny Velasquez takes doubles for Shane McGahee.
2 runners today and 2 wins. Consequence, and then of course Vacation today in the Grade 3 handshake.
When HRTV Rewind returns, this trainer's sending 6 horses overseas.
I'm looking forward to going over there. I'm looking forward to the competition. I'm looking forward to see just what I can do with my 2-year-olds.
And this horse is going to be in the winner's circle for the 10th time.
Perfect 10 for 10, Zenyatta!
Complicity down the outside, steamrolling home from off the speed. Abbott Hall tries to pick up. Laurel Dean Gale is now well held, and it is Complicity who goes on. Complicity inside the final 16th. 5 on the day for Julien Leperoux.
Toward the inside is Auto Be Mine now sent on through. Auto Be Mine up the fence, and 3 tickets as the first line looms. 3 tickets, Auto Be Mine, a bobber! 5th win of the day for Inez Carlson. Races 2, 3, 5, 8, and 9 for those keeping track.
Down inside the final furlong, Tabazimbi now tackled by Spice Road. Here comes the old boy, Brass Hat on the wide outside. Spice Road, Brass Hat, these two racing up towards the line. Brass Hat's in front. Brass Hat wins the Louisville Handicap. 5th win on the day for an inspired Calvin Burrell.
To quote Vic Stauffer, how do you describe perfection? Why try? Let's just watch her run.
Return of Zenyatta, last year's champion for the filly and mare division. Here's the Milady from earlier.
They're off. Now Zenyatta is kicked into gear. She's decided to go 4 wide, and here comes Zenyatta. Meanwhile, Life is Sweet stays at the rail, and she's matching strides with her stablemate. It is Zenyatta to challenge. All I can say is wow. Life is Sweet dives to the inside. All I can say is wow, has lost the lead to Zenyatta, who levels out and runs away. Levels out, runs away, and makes it a perfect 10 for 10. Zenyatta!
Zenyatta gets the win here in her 5-year-old debut and her first start in 2009, and I think if she stays sound, it's only a matter of time before she tackles the boys.
We were having a conversation with Jeff Siegel about 30 minutes ago and talking about Hollywood Gold Cup perhaps for Zenyatta. I mean, sooner or later, you got to think that they'll move on and tackle the boys, whether it be the Gold Cup, whether it be the Breeders' Cup Classic here in November.
When you have a super mare, your options seem to get bigger and bigger and bigger with each win, so congratulations.
And that mare right there is a big reason why Mike Smith will not be riding Mind That Bird in the Belmont Stakes. Can you blame him?
No, not at all.
Over at Remington Park, Got Country Grip may not be perfect, but he did notch win number 19 on Saturday night.
Getting set. They're off in the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum Stakes. Out like a shot outside. SM Country Snowman with a great start. Had a length on the field in the opening strides. Trying to come on is Awesome Fling. Got Country Grip in third and all out and working hard. Got Country Grip ready to challenge Awesome Fling. And SM Country Snowman, 100 to go. Got Country Grip goes to the lead. It's Got Country Grip by a half length in the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum Stakes.
What made you decide to take this trek?
Well, I'll tell you, Mr. Ramsey, my biggest supporter here, he was very keen to take a horse over there, and when we got an invitation with Cannonball, I got a bunch of these 2-year-old winners, and so I thought, why not take a shot at some of these horses that I have over there in their 2-year-old races. You know, I'm looking forward to going over there. I'm looking forward to the competition. I'm looking forward to see just what I can do with not only Cannonball in the sprint races, but with my 2-year-olds.
And of course, you're talking about several of the horses, including Yogaroo, Grand Times, Strike the Tiger. Who are you feeling the most excited about right off the bat there?
Cannonball, it could not be any sharper right now. He's run 2 great races back-to-back at Keelan and Churchill here right before the Derby. Just narrow losses. Either way, I could have won the races. So I think that he's doing great. Not only Cannonball, but all of my 2-year-olds I'm bringing over there. They don't need any Lasix. They're all very, very sound to where they don't need any type of medications. I think that the whole 6 contingent of horses that I'm bringing over there are going to run fantastic.
What is it about these horses that makes you feel they're going to fit at Royal Ascot?
Well, I'll tell you, Yogaroo improved immensely at Gulfstream. And when I put him on the poly-track surface here, he just moved up a ton, which leads me to believe that on the grass he's going to do the same thing, because the sire, I own the sire, Bring the Heat, and everything I put on the turf by Bring the Heat just excels. Strike the Tiger, the way he moves, he's got turf action. He just kind of skips over the ground, and so I'm just kind of taking a shot with him.
That's all this week on HRTV. Here's what you can look forward to next week, including an all-new episode of Inside Information. Just 40 minutes away from Del Mar Racetrack in Southern California lies San Luis Rey Downs, a picturesque training facility with sprawling hills and trails that reach back for miles. It's the perfect place for any horseman that doesn't want the hustle and bustle of the big tracks. But for trainer Joe Herrick, it's more than that. It's the place where his unique methods and the advice of his fellow trainers helped him realize a dream what was a lifetime in the making.
I was always an outdoor guy. I'm a guy that, hikes almost every day with my dog, and I love animals. I love the gift that I've been given with horses and working with them.
When we first started out, he went for 7 years without even taking a day off. I mean, not even Christmas Day, not even when he got sick. I mean, he just, loved it and was passionate.
But before Joe began training just over 10 years ago, he would have been more than willing to take a few days off. His life revolved around a 9-to-5 office job, far from the peacefulness of the backside.
My family's always owned and operated motels for years and years, and I worked with the family operation for 10 years.
His job, as I recall, was going in charge of about 8 or 10 hotels, and he went out and did physical inspections and did manager evaluations. Being in an office is not Joe's forte.